Alright guys, subscribe back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to Valorant News. A major leak coming out from the Sentinels camp last night. A scrim up against FaZe, revealing their compositions, revealing that TenZ is on the chamber as he accidentally pressed start streaming as opposed to start recording in a scrim ahead of the last chance qualifier. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thanks very much indeed for doing that one. Lots of topics to discuss on this whole issue because, yeah, this is a pretty important leak from the Sentinel side. Gives us a lot of insight indeed into what might happen in just a couple of weeks' time when the LCQ does officially begin. First of all, of course, Chamber, we've got to mention him real quick because he's looking rather strong right now. Of course, we'll see what TenZ is using with the Chamber in just a couple of seconds here, which has been rumored for quite some time. The TenZ might try this agent out. Seems like that is exactly what is going to happen. Now, as Vanity says actually from the Cloud9 side, Riot delays Valorant patch 5.03 to next month. So I believe it was meant to come this week. It's going to come next week instead, or maybe the week after, whatever exactly they're planning to do. And Vanity wants a chamber nerf, right? So that's kind of the key thing here, that a lot of, well, players do want the chamber nerf to come through. Now, for the last chance qualifier, that is not going to be in effect, right? But we know that Split is here for the LCQ, and it's not here for champions. So if they were to nerf chamber next week, just before, of course, at the LCQ, they're not going to play on the new patch update there. But come champions, with Pearl in the map set as well, they might well reflect all the new agent changes also, even though it'd be kind of interesting if they go from the LCQ from Masters to champs with a pretty different meta in terms of viable composition. So we'll see if there are any changes to chamber happening anytime soon. 100 Thieves, we've seen NRG, they're also doing boot camp, so every team is pretty much getting as ready to go as they possibly can, going into the last chance qualifier in a few days' time. Tough to say who the favourites are. I wouldn't say Sentinels are up there as of yet, but they have been showing some promise in scrims the last few days. Even Weltis Game says, one of their new analysts, that, you know, Shroud is very good, almost like he has previous FPX experience, talking about ShahZaM and some words on dapr and TenZ. Not too much insight that we didn't already know here into Zelsis, but you know, still, maybe it's going well within that camp right now. And their scrims seem to start off rather well yesterday against FaZe. They started 3-0. Did they finish 3-0? I suppose that was another question. Now, I just wanted to mention this also as we kind of will go into the Sentinels discussion, because OpTic are now officially the #1 team all-time in North America in terms of total prize winnings by coming third at Masters Copenhagen. They've pocketed, I believe, $85,000. You guys can see it right here. That means their prize earnings are now officially 600 grand, and that eclipses Sentinels 568 grand over their career so far. So yes, OpTic are now officially the #1 team in North American history, I suppose, in terms of, well, prize winnings, if you want to look at it from that perspective. Now, ShahZaM tweets this out yesterday. Dude, he says. That's all he says. And I was thinking, okay, what exactly is this referring to? And people were very quickly pointing out in the replies exactly what this meant. TenZ started accidentally streaming and leaked his composition and scrims up against FaZe. So, like, effectively the idea is here, they're at the boot camp. Sentinels, of course, are going to do their scrim matches up against teams seemingly at the LCQ. That's another interesting angle here, actually, is that these teams seemingly are having to scrim LCQ teams, because ideally Sentinels don't really want to be playing up against FaZe, but there might not be any organizations left for them to play against, because of course they could play FaZe out the LCQ, right? They don't really want to practice against a team that they might give some information away to on certain maps. We can see in this scrim here in a second they were playing Split, and no one else really wants to play Split because Split is out of the map pool for pretty much everyone that isn't in the LCQ. So they can't get practice on Split against any team that isn't an LCQ team, really. And also many of the top kind of tier 2 orgs have now just left, right, as we've seen the last few days. So this is, ShahZaM obviously wasn't happy about it, right? And I looked immediately at TenZ's Twitch that was offline after of course, well, he sent it offline after about 2 minutes. But you can see here at the time that there were some clips being taken from the stream. And of course, we'll see some of those clips here in just a second. And as Dicey says, you guys saw those one-taps or what? So Dicey was confident that FaZe were playing well in this particular scrim. And as TenZ goes, how come start stream button is so close to records? Sorry to the FaZe guys, though, didn't mean to leak any compositions. Now, the composition that Sentinels had was exactly the same as the FaZe composition right here. So very similar tactics here on Split, but interesting actually the players that were using certain agents, because, well, we'll see that here in a second, and it might be what causes this team to start being more impactful. As Sentinels say, you saw nothing. So TenZ not happy that he did this accidentally. Probably was accidental, right? People were saying that maybe they just did this for, you know, attention, for clout or whatever. I doubt that was the case, to be honest. It's an easy mistake to make when you press start streaming instead of start recording, like on the OBS settings and stuff like that. They are very close to each other. If you have like a bind on your stream deck or something, it's easier to get right, maybe. But it did mean that 3 rounds of scrims up against FaZe were leaked right here. So as Dicey says, that scrim ended 21-3, by the way, easy, haha. So I doubt this was the case, to be honest. Yeah, okay, for them, GG. Now, like, okay, I think what Dicey was implying here is that they won the first 3 rounds, Sentinels on the defensive side, and they play out every single round in scrims, like you don't just end it when someone gets to 13, you play it to the death effectively for all the 24 rounds. So I think Dicey's trying to just joke the fact that, okay, every single round after those 3 that started was won by the FaZe guys, and like whether, yeah, I don't know, Sentinels was just ultra tilted after accidentally leaking this or whatever and lost a few rounds as a result. I doubt the scrim ended quite to this scoreline, but yeah, I'll share a couple of clips for you guys here in a second. Just wanted to mention this, because this of course is the screenshots here from those scrims. We're here on Split. These are the agent compositions. We've got Zelsis on the Raze, TenZ is on the Chamber, right? We've talked about this for a couple of months now, that TenZ thought the Chamber could be a good agent for him. Jet is barely used anymore, and so yeah, apparently TenZ on the full-time Chamber might well be the thing, which probably is about time to be perfectly honest, but yeah, here it is, officially shown here in the scrims. So Zelsis on the Raze, dapr on the FaZe, which I think is a great combo. Generally, FaZe can, well, trap them in that like area of effect effectively, and then Raze comes through with the nades, takes them down. Shroud on the Astra, ShahZaM on the KO, right? And FaZe have a pretty much identical composition. I mean, they do have an identical composition. Dicey on the Chamber, Poised on the KO, babybay on the Raze, Flyer on the FaZe, and then it's Superman on the Astra, right? So a very similar setup here between the two teams.
Probably, yeah. Nothing I'm in. They can't be ropes, right?
No.
You default, I can always flash for you to peek too.
One jump starting market, one jump starting market.
Okay, I'm gonna come. I can come room though.
They're supposed to be.
I don't think the ropes. I'm gonna rotate.
They're
I'm gonna flash you.
They're probably there.
Flashing?
Oh, just play your safe, bro. Let's fight ropes maybe.
Watch your B.
Nothing. They're gonna go back B. They're gonna go back B.
Yeah, orb heaven. Running through?
I don't know.
They faded there.
Only one more.
Fade is gonna be big.
Careful mid. Careful mid. Careful mid.
Yeah, I have it.
I'm gonna room it B man.
He's waiting for the fade.
Well, what the?
He's in the smoke.
B.
Re-smoking.
Oh,
Away that room.
Heaven.
Peek.
Hey, that's my bad. Hey, that's my bad.
This is how I play now.
Market.
There's one T spawn.
I can nade market. You
Spot
wanna
a
B?
knife it, yeah.
Wait, careful, Jordan.
Yeah.
They might run up on me.
Nothing.
He's in spawn.
I have a bucky. Just give me a
Alright,
second.
everyone get one.
Yep, everyone get your one.
You got Spectre shots? Run at him. Yeah,
Get
can you
nade.
get a heal?
Enemy remaining.
Go
Go
nade
Sage.
above my Yo, this
What? What's up?
I didn't get my one.
It's all good, brother. This is a bonus.
I don't want to
Yeah, I
use
think
a
it
ghost
is hard
for, like,
bonus. I might use a ghost.
Hard
okay,
bonus.
this is
Wait, can I
actually
play short
troll.
though? Can I be
feel like we should.
It's just hard bonus.
Wait, Dapr, I'll TP back into the site with you.
I mean, you two could buy rifles.
Alright,
I'll buy rifles.
Alright, buy rifles.
I'll buy
Yeah,
rifles.
looking that up.
I agree.
I'm literally taking this guy out.
Hard smoking in right now.
A-Rab.
120. There's no way my bucky doesn't insta kill him there.
Good one. There's one more in the smoke. Blind, he's
Molly.
Yeah, I don't know. He flashed.
Watch out for this.
Nice.
Okay, I just shorted. Oh no, I just got unbreak.
Yeah,
Look through this smoke.
Towards me, amen.
Goodbye.
There's a Bucky.
If I had
I
a
didn't
judge.
want your mic on.
Yeah, that's fine.
I mean, I was chucking it to you. I was running a marathon for you.
I sees 3, bro.
So what do you guys think about this, right? I mean, look, it looks like a nice conversation. I think that probably the key takeaway here is that TenZ is on the Chamber, which seems like about time, and was obviously doing damage with it, as we just saw in those clips right there, right? So, I mean, yeah, they streamed about 3 rounds of this before TenZ finally realized what was going on, and, well, turned it off, of course, and then we'll see what happened to FaZe. But I would say that FaZe are probably, they're one of the favorites going into this tourney. FaZe, Cloud9, like 100 Thieves, I think those are certainly the teams that are up there in consideration. Like NRG should be there or thereabouts. There's a lot of talented teams, of course, in this LCQ. Sentinels, we don't really know what to expect, but they started out the scrim well, went 3-0 the first 3 rounds. Not too much to talk about that, right? Because, of course, it was, you know, won the pistol rounds and then converted. But maybe TenZ on Chamber is about time and might be an indication that Sentinels just going to run away and will the LCQ, no problem at all. The other part of this actually is the team they were practicing against, right? So they were playing FaZe, which, of course, yeah, as Dazzle even says here, right, on SR and formerly LG, says you can't practice split against anyone either because it's out of the map pool for anyone not in the LCQ. So that's the thing they might just be playing FaZe and teams in the LCQ for split practice. They might have other teams in kind of the tier 2 division that they can practice against for other maps, because they probably don't want to reveal their ideas and their compositions on like on every single map in the game to teams they're playing in the LCQ, right? Like, you don't want to scrim and FaZe on every map, because then if you do play FaZe at the event, FaZe are going to know everything that you do on every single map and exactly what your practice has been. So you want to find tier 2 teams. The issue is that many of those organizations have now dropped out, and you don't have that many tier 2 teams remaining to actually practice against, because their organizations might have dipped and therefore they're not really a team anymore. So there's a bit of a problem there, to be honest, but scrimming FaZe I thought was another part of the discussion that should be had on this leak. And even as Moose says, they're also MSR, well, at least the community can't roast them for not practicing anymore. So yes, officially they did do a scrim, right? Congratulations, Sentinels. They were practicing, they were officially scrimming. Maybe people were saying, okay, TenZ did it deliberately just to show that yes, they do actually practice here at the bootcamp. It's not just making content, but it makes sense, right? They scrim for a large part of the day, they stream it, do content another part of the day, making progress it seems though. But TenZ on the chamber, I think that could be a step in the right direction. We've been talking about it for quite some time that this probably should happen. TenZ's playstyle, the fact that chamber has effectively replaced Jet. I mean, like, TenZ wasn't happy about the kind of nerfs that Jet had, and also the way that chamber plays, that you can get a kill, get out of there so easily. It should suit TenZ's style rather well. We do tend to see with Sentinels as an organization the last couple of years, since they were good, right, and they kind of fell off, a lot of the times what was kind of happening to them, I think, is that they were falling behind the meta that was being developed. Like, I think they were ahead of the game, other teams were catching up, they weren't really continuing to innovate, which is difficult to do, right, when you've had a period of pretty much dominance. But, you know, we've seen, I think, that other teams, they introduced chamber first, like TenZ was quite slow to adapt to it, and Sentinels were quite slow to adapt to actually using the chamber. Now they're getting there, and as long as the meta doesn't change before the LCQ, which is probably not going to, then they should be okay to still deliver the goods. Wanted to mention this before we close out the video. Clutch players in terms of clutch success from Will Minder at Masters 2 Copenhagen. Mindfreak actually had the highest clutch success at 35.3 with 12 clutches out of 34 attempts. Of course, this considers like all clutches. If you were put into a 1v5 and you saved, I guess, you know, it's a loss, right? But at the end of the day, like, you can't really be expected to win that one. Shao, to me, was still the standout here. Yes, he only has 25% clutch wins, like, but look how many attempts he gets put into. 83 clutch attempts, right? This is 1v4s, 1v5s, whatever situation he finds himself in, but also a 1v1, 1v2, 1v3, he delivers the goods so often. 21 clutches over the course of the event, which is still absurd. Way higher than anyone else you are going to find on this list. And again, just to finish out with this pretty ridiculous clip, but very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit the like button, tell us YouTube gods, it's a good video, and also like you should see it as well, and I grow the competitive Valorant community. Thank you as always, take care of yourselves, and I will see you next time.